Does Iran actually represent a threat to the United States? And if it does, shouldn't Congress have a say in it? I mean, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says Congress shall have the power to declare war. Only Congress. There's not a single mention of war powers in Article 2, which is about the president. So, that's why Woodrow Wilson, FDR, Truman, Harry Truman, Jack Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Bill Clinton, both Bushes, all went to Congress to get approval before dropping bombs on other people. I mean, even Obama used Bush's AUMF to legitimize his attacks on Libya. Trump has no such authority, and he's not even claiming it. He didn't write a letter saying he didn't have the Office of Legal Counsel in the White House write a letter saying, here's the legal reason why we can bomb Iran. There is nothing there. Trump is essentially saying, we can bomb Iran because I said so. And this fact, this startling reality that, this is what dictators do, right? I dictate. I say this is it and that is it. This is being completely ignored or largely ignored by our media, which just blows my mind. I mean, this is the first time in my lifetime, and perhaps I believe the first time in American history, that we've had a president commit an act of war without the approval of Congress. And by the way, Thomas Massie and Warren Davidson, two Republicans, the first from Kentucky, the second from Ohio, agreed. Massie says, while President Trump's decision may prove just, it's hard to conceive a rationale that's constitutional. Davidson said this is not constitutional. Sean Casten of Illinois, who's a Democrat, said no president has the authority to bomb another country that does not pose an imminent threat to the U.S. without the approval of Congress. I mean, there you go. So, we've got this unconstitutional seizing of more power into the White House, into the executive branch. It's also important to note that in 2015, President Obama worked out a deal with Iran, and they were honoring it. That deal did away with 97% of their enriched uranium. It went from 10,000 kilograms down to only 300 kilos, dismantled 2/3 of their centrifuges, capped their enrichment at 3.67%, which is the level that you use for nuclear reactors. And yes, they have a nuclear reactor. In fact, it was built by Russia. And they allowed IAEA inspectors in all their sites. But Trump tore that up, I believe, at the insistence of Benjamin Netanyahu in his first term, Trump's first term. And had Trump not torn that agreement up, we would have no reason to be bombing Iran right now because they would not be enriching uranium. But here we are. We've got 50,000 U.S. troops in the region. Apparently, there's Iranian missiles on their way to at least two U.S. bases, one in Qatar, one in Iraq. And to crank the fury quotient in Iran up to 11, I mean, if you really want to have the Iranian people rally around the Ayatollah, here's how you do it. Trump is now calling for regime change, like Bush did in Iraq. It doesn't work. These things, as Congressman Khanna just pointed out, have to go organically. They have to go from the bottom up. Now, one of the pro-bombing arguments that Trump's war hawks have made is that, hey, we're supporting Ukraine against Russia. Why shouldn't we support Israel against Iran? Well, we haven't bombed Russia. It's apples and oranges. It's a completely different thing. And by the way, Russia is Iran's ally. And now you've got, like I said, Medvedev saying that, maybe we'll supply a nuclear weapon to Iran. I mean, this is, keep in mind, Iran has supplied Putin's military with thousands of deadly drones, their Shahed drones, that, have really helped them out in their war against Iran. So, could this end up as World War III? I think it's not impossible. Now, what Trump is planning on or hoping on or betting on is that, back on January 3rd, 2020, when he killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani just outside the Baghdad airport, Iran's response was pretty mild. They lobbed some missiles into a U.S. airbase in Iraq that caused traumatic brain injury in a little over 100 U.S. soldiers as a result of the shock wave. But, that was about it. And Trump downplayed it and said, oh, there was just a few headaches. And I'm thinking that Trump is betting that history is going to repeat itself. But I'm not sure that Iran today is the same Iran that it was in 2020. And then to make things even worse, Now, Trump put Carrie Lake in front of Radio Free Europe or Radio Liberty, Voice of America, and she has now gutted Radio Farda. Radio Farda is the Farsi language, that's the language they speak in Iran, is the Farsi language U.S. broadcasting service that uses giant transmitters in Qatar to speak to people in Iran. And it's now dead because Trump doesn't like pro-democracy propaganda being distributed around the world through Voice of America, if you want to call that propaganda. Now, there's also this belief that Iran has sleeper cells in the United States that could do something like 9/11. I mean, this could get really bad really fast. And Trump, I'm guessing, is also betting that if it does, that will play into his hands too. I mean, after 9/11, look at how people rallied around George W. Bush. If we get hit with another 9/11 style attack here in the United States, maybe not, airplanes hitting buildings, but something that kills thousands of Americans in a mass casualty event, are Americans going to blame Trump or are they going to blame Iran? I suspect that they will rally around Trump and blame Iran. I mean, that's just, history tells us that. So what do? Well, the National Security Powers Act. Now you've got this new piece of legislation co-sponsored by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. Call your member of Congress, 202-224-3121, and tell them to co-sponsor that legislation.